Mr. Damon, and you now watching Damon Time with Dutch. On today's episode of Prison Stories Uncut, we back in that Maryland prison system with it, man. But before I hop off in the storytelling mode, I want to send a big shout out to the brother Jody Joe. This brother, loyal supporter. Watch all my content. Definitely appreciate you, brother. Jody Joe. Just stay locked in, pimp. I got us. Now that we got that out the way, let's get it. When the administration in Roxbury finds out that the good brothers hit all the DMIs in the old jail in that castle, instead of letting them off lockdown, they decided to split everybody up. So if you was flagged in the computer and you had a gang file, they was coming to your cell, putting a box in front of your cell, telling you pack up. One by one, they gathered up all the DMIs and they did the same thing to the good brothers. The only difference was they were sending the DMIs like in that Eastern Shore area in the Cumberland, up in the mountain area. Whereas though with the good brothers, they were sending them down in Jessup. MCIJ, Outback, the Cut Annex, them three major prisons that's down there, they just split them up between the three. Put them on immediate transfer. Them guys was out of Roxbury in 2 days. So when this was going on, Nolan got grabbed up, but because his time was getting short, instead of sending him down in Jessup, they sent him down in the city to that Maryland Penitentiary. Now, back in the day, the Maryland Penitentiary used to be for maximum security inmates, mostly lifers and dudes that's on death row. But the Maryland Penitentiary is the oldest prison in the United States. They literally used to sell slaves there. Do your research. But anyway, in the penitentiary, the tiers is 5 tiers high. So the top tiers started caving in, decaying. So they shut down the maximum security parts of the jail, like C block, A block, B block. These was the cells. And they just kept opening the dormitories, the dorms, where it ain't no cells, it's just bunk spaces. And made it minimum securities for guys that's about to go home. But that Maryland Penitentiary was a good brother stronghold for real. Back during them years, it was headquarters for the good brothers, and by far it had the most members, well over 300 some odd members. And at the time, a good brother by the name of Lil Meat, East Baltimore legend, was running the show down there. He was a skipper. A lot of people called him Bright Eyes. We called him Lil Meat. He was light-skinned, short with the cat eyes, gangster. See, Shorty was one of them niggas used to act like they knew. Ain't know that man from a can of paint. And when I say Shorty name ring bells in Baltimore City and in that Maryland prison system, it ain't no cap. I literally myself seen niggas avoid whole wars with good brothers just because Shorty was on the location and niggas ain't want to be on the other side. Facts. But anyway, as soon as Nolan get out there, his first day in the big yard, one of the good brothers who he ain't know from Adam walked straight up on him and let him know he was on ice till he get cleared. Wasn't no brothers really gonna talk to him besides the ones on the tier with him. He ain't had to come to no meetings, he ain't had to work out, he ain't had to do nothing for 3 days until he get cleared. After them 3 days, once the word come back that he good, he in good standings, and he fall in the rank and file with the rest of the good brothers. This was Nolan's first time having to get cleared. He never been through that before. And the brotherhood was so strict down there because of how many high-ranking big brothers was on location. The good brothers was moving down that bitch like the Chinese military. They had security set up all over the yard. You couldn't even come over where they was working out at unless you knew the password, which was in Swahili. You don't know that shit, don't try to walk over there. They had some big husky niggas standing security with orders to knock you straight out if you don't know that password. Brother or no brother. But anyway, once Nolan 3 days was up, his picture came back, he was good. His war report was solid. But once Lil Meat found out who he was, he sent the brother at him and told him, look, Lil Meat says you such and such, gave him a rank. This was Nolan's first time ever having rank and stature. He wasn't the top dog, but he was number 3 down there, out of 300 and some odd people. That was just because he was a part of the situation involving Mr. Morgan, and his name was still good. So he went on ahead and blessed him. Didn't even know the man. That fucked Nolan up. But anyway, so that Friday, all the good brothers had mandatory class. This was the first prison Nolan been to where the good brothers had their own class like a religious group did in there. They had so much power, the administration gave them a class. And see, this was big because back then, only religious groups like the Sunni Muslims, the Nation of Islam, Christians got to get classes, religious services and stuff like that. Not no gangs. Shit. And this facts. So that afternoon, when Nolan get up to the class, it's a brother standing by the door, militant, pointing you to your seat. You had to fill in the ranks. You couldn't sit where you wanted to. And as the brothers pulled into the class, that good brother that was standing at the door was taking count. Once all the seats was filled up, another brother stepped up to the podium and opened the class. All the big brothers was all the way at the back. They had a back table. They sat amongst themselves. It's zero tolerance in there. No talking or speaking out of turn. Straight militant. But anyway, The brother opened the meeting with the good brother saying, you gotta say the same when you open the meeting. Everybody gotta stand up. When he was finished, everybody sat down, right? Then the brother that was opening the meeting said, look, if it's any new brothers on location, stand up, introduce yourself. So Nolan, like, damn, put him on the spot. So he stand up, introduced himself, let everybody know his rank and stature. But when he did that, a couple brothers looked like, fuck. Basically wondering how the hell he got ranked. He just got down here. But they knew better than to say something. Now, at the end of that meeting, him, Lil Meat, and the rest of the brothers that was in the ranks had a separate meeting in the back. And that's where Nolan was able to meet all the big brothers back there. They told him what was going on in the jail and everything, how they was running it, what they expected of him and all that. And he could tell they fucked it with Mr. Morgan real heavy because they kept asking him questions about him. Now, with the position that he had, he was in charge of disciplining brothers. The good brothers, they get out of line and break the rules. They had to come before him. He was like the judge. He would let them know if they did break a rule, if they had to pay a fine, if they was going to get a body beaten, or worse. So when you got that type of position, you become feared a little bit amongst the brothers. But anyway, I lie to you not. His first month down there, behind his back, all the good brothers was calling that nigga Sergeant Slaughter. Because for every write-up, infraction, anything that came across his desk, he was putting niggas on that wall getting their body beat. Meanwhile, across the street in B-Triple-C, because of the shit they found in Taisha's phone between her and Tion, the administration packed Tion up, sent him across the street in that penitentiary. Even though she wasn't even working there no more, they wanted him out of the institution. So they packed him up, sent him in that penitentiary. He didn't even know Nolan was over there, on location. He thinking Shorty's still up on the farm. Now, when the investigators interrogated Taisha, she folded under pressure. They got to showing her the messages and the pictures of her bruises and shit that she sent Tion, saying how she hated him and she wanted his ass dead. So she get to telling the investigators, like, man, I was just upset. I didn't really want nothing to happen to my baby father. At the end of the day, my son ain't got no father now. I ain't had nothing to do with that. I was just telling them what happened to me, speaking out of anger. So they tell her, like, look, if you don't tell us what happened, we're going to charge you for the shit. Not knowing the law, she spilled the beans. She told them, Tion told her he was going to take care of it. So when Tion had came back from the yard that day, and the detectives was waiting for him at the cell, before he came back, they was actually already in his cell, tearing his cell up, looking through his shit, looking for that cell phone, trying to see if they could find some messages between him and the killers. But the whole time, they not knowing, Tion never talked to the dudes. He had somebody else do that for him. Them dudes don't even know Tion's name. All they knew was he was the skipper down there in B-Triple-C. They ain't even know his name. All they knew was they was making a move for the skipper.